Good afternoon and welcome to Harmony Media Network. We apologize for the technical difficulties earlier, but we have all resolved the problem. You missed an interesting portion of our conversation, but myself, Dina Avila, and my co-host, the lovely Miss Faith Myers, we are going to try our best to recap our first segment, right? Just to kind of rush into it, we are basically looking at navigating relationship and while walking with faith, right? And not this faith, right? So we'll be looking at different segments, of course, and we started off with a quick question: what is your perfect date? And what's your idea of a perfect date? And we'll be looking at different aspects. We'll be looking at the challenges in modern day dating and relationship. Try being single and still having that walk with God. And we're also going to look at the good aspects of relationships. So we're going to look at some green flags. And if we look at the green flags, we must look at the red flags as well, right? So we start off with the first part, which is basically our icebreaker. And we want you guys to comment. So comment, what is your idea of a perfect date? So for now, until you guys send those messages in, and we can probably read a couple of them, I'm going to pass it on to our co-host, Miss Faith Myers, and she'll tell us what is her interpretation of a perfect date.
So earlier we were mentioning how we both like the aspect of communication on a date. We want to be able to talk to that person, get to know them, share some jokes, some stories of any kind, just to, become comfortable with them. And I mentioned that I would like a date in that order, in that same way, where we're doing like an activity together. I wouldn't want us to go to a restaurant or like to watch a movie or something like that. I want us to be in a place of quiet so that we can actually speak and get to know each other well. So I mentioned the idea of like painting in the park. We just have some canvases and some paints and maybe a few snacks, and you guys just sit and paint and talk to each other, have a nice chat to get to know each other.
Lovely. And I don't know if it's because you both December born, but that's my interpretation of date, right? Yeah. For me, I want to have a conversation, and I mentioned that the conversation doesn't have to be something intimate. So I don't expect that first date to be you telling me all your secrets from your past or anything. It doesn't even have to be something personal. We can pick a random topic and have a discussion, because Faith mentioned a very important word. She said comfortable. For me, it's hard for me to be comfortable around people. It's hard for me to break barriers and just let down and just laugh at someone, right? So for me, being in a relationship, if I am going to because relationships are hard work, all caps, hard work, right? So if I am going to put in that work, I want to know that it's worth it. And that's one of the main reasons that I've remained single so long, because I have given 5 years in a relationship and it didn't work, and I gave another 5 years in another relationship and I don't have any more 5 years left. So for me, the conversation, I want to be outside. I want to be where there's fresh air. I want us to be in a position where we're able to talk. We go to a movies. I'm a movie head. I will forget you're sitting beside me. Yeah. And if we go to eat, I'm not necessarily petite. I love eating. I'll forget you're beside me again, right? So I would much rather the setting be
something focused on
the conversation, which moved us into our first segment, where we spoke about modern day dating. What is the dating scene like? Because we tend to think that a perfect date is roses,
big fancy restaurant,
nice car, and a nightclub. There's no communicating there. Yeah. And then we've been going to the club every weekend after weekend, after weekend, and when the music turns off, what do you hear? We have nothing in common. I don't like your jokes. I find them corny. You're not funny.
There's no substance to the relationship. It's just light and, playful. It's not serious. You're not focused in on actually getting to know the person in a setting like that. So it has no base. There's no foundation. And how can you build if there's no foundation?
Right? So we look at that being one of our idea of dating, and we must, I don't know if we can build it around our society, because our society doesn't lend itself to have a lot of place for you to go. But and some paint, and we're gonna sit in the park and paint. And we can paint. I can have a vivid conversation about what you'll know a lot of a person if I told you choose what to draw, and that will spark a whole conversation, right, Faith?
Yeah, I think dating in Belize just needs some creativity, because it's true, you don't have a lot of places to go and to actually get that kind of experience that we're seeking, and so you have to get creative and find new ways to actually have real dates. Something else we should mention is a problem with communication, and why I think we find it so important is because social media has taken that communication aspect away. It's everything, send me a text instead of coming to see me in person. Everything is online instead of taking the time out to become face to face and have these real conversations and real interactions, so that you can actually find out real stuff about this person.
And so, as she mentioned the social media aspect, I shared that I read a post that said that my grandmother met my grandfather and they lived happily ever after for 47 years, 15 kids. I think it was yesterday I came across a video. This lady from Iran, her husband had a stroke and he went into coma. And now she's dealing with her husband's mother because she's distraught. She has to be dealing with questions from her children. Mom, will dad be okay? Mom, when is dad coming home? Mom, what happened to dad? And then she has all her friends telling her, well, he wouldn't want to live like this. You're just punishing him. It's time for him to move on. And so she kept listening, and she said that she had to turn to her God. She had to turn to Allah and try to find understanding behind everything. And she got the phone call, and the phone call said, ma'am, your husband passed away. And so she went to the hospital, and there's this tradition of celebration that they have in their culture. and she said she's starting it. So everybody kept looking at her and saying, you know, why is she celebrating? It says, because Allah gave me 17 years with him. And yes, I don't have him anymore, but I have to be grateful for the 17. She said a lot of problem with us in relationship is that we're too greedy. We always want more. And we tend to not appreciate what is right in front of us. And I think that's general in everything that we do. We tend to not focus because you're looking at right now I don't have him, but you forgot that God blessed you with him for 17 wonderful years and 5 wonderful children. And as you duly mentioned, we keep looking at all the relationship, even celebrities' relationship. We tend to compare and we want that. We don't have that. I'll look at my 35 years old and my husband is 38 and we see a couple 23 years old and they already have a home. Then I want a home. So instead of trying to build a home with my husband, I go out there to find a home. So what are we looking for in relationship then, Faith? What are our goals today? What are we looking for in a relationship?
Well, personally, I don't have the same values. I would want to build. I want to be able to work together with my partner to create these things that people are looking for. And I think it's just a mentality that we need to change. We need to realize that it's becoming problematic. It's breaking up so much friendships of, you know, long years. People find new friends just because they found a new friend that takes them on trips or, you know, makes them be able to go on a yacht party every weekend or something like that. You need to focus on the true values of what a relationship is and look for that partnership instead of just things you can get.
Yeah, and that is so true. And again, let's compare it back to the past at work. Yes, I met this one guy and we were married 47 years, but when I met him, he probably just got his first job, but I stuck by him. My grandmother stayed there. They started with a one bedroom. My grandma personally, she was from village. She was in a village. They had anything. No, my grandmother before she passed away a couple years ago, she had acres, a very big houses on the acres, plantation, cows, bulls, pig, chicken, you name it, she had it. But we don't look at the process. We don't see that she stuck by him when they had nothing and now they have everything. It's a process, but we want to rush it and we want to just have it all from the get-go. We have the expectation that when we get in a relationship, everything should be aligned. You should have already have your career. You should already be making the big job. You should already have a car. You should already have a house. We are going to move in together. It's already furnished. But that's not realistic. That is not reality here, right? And then we look at social media again. We look at the couples, the famous people, I should say. We look at them, they aren't making it in their relationship either. And they have the houses, they have the mansions, they have the yachts, they have all the riches, but these relationships aren't making it either.
And a lot of times, I recently found out that you, in like places like LA, you can rent a house and make content in the house and then leave and go back to wherever you are. And so a lot of times things are just for show, and we have to come to that realization that their reality is not real and be willing to try and really commit ourselves to a relationship and commit ourselves to working together to actually develop these things, because a lot of times when these people are getting these things, they're for free, just for brand promotion, and they have a relationship solely based on that. And so it's not them supporting each other, it's them supporting the creating more funds for themselves to do whatever they want, probably separately.
And you said it right. Reality is not real. And that is why a lot of our relationships are not fruitful, because we are setting them on expectations that are not real. And when we don't meet those expectations, then we fall short, right?
Yeah.
Now, this one is a very interesting topic, because we have the now independent woman in society. The roles have changed. The woman is no longer staying at home and cooking and cleaning. And must I say that there was a moment in my life that I was at home cooking and cleaning, and the cleaning never ends. I don't understand. Why is it that we keep cleaning and then I keep cooking and the dishes keep getting dirty? It's hard work, I must say. But I'm fortunate that I'm one of those independent women. I go out and I work. And so the roles have changed. And I keep on. There was this video that the man said something, and he said that's why the independent woman end up like Whoopi Goldberg, single in an empty house with a bunch of cats. Why is it that the independent woman has brought such a shift in the relationship? What's your thought on that, Faith?
Well, it could be insecurities from the men that, they have to take charge and, do all these sorts of
manly
things. Yeah, that seem manly. But I don't think that's all being manly is. There is, yes, in the Bible, they're expected to lead, but leadership has different ways of leadership. Your team coach, like on a soccer court, field, whatever, won't lead the same way a manager does in an office. And so it's just adjusting to know how these women would accept that leadership. And it's probably challenging because, maybe they didn't grow up with that. Because it's just recent that women have started working from the get-go, and this is how you're finding the relationships now. So maybe they didn't have that example, but it's something that you need to work on, and you have to realize that, okay, so this leadership style that was it present in my home when I was growing up is not going to be effective here, and you need to change your style of leadership so that it doesn't cause conflict. Because a lot of times when they come with that same kind of leadership, the independent woman won't accept that, and it caused a lot of arguments and a lot of relationships ending because of that. They want to be led.
Well, I had an interesting conversation. So this very offended because he felt that I had to lead him. And I said, but you're taking it because a lot of relationship now, in that relationship because I need a roof. It's sad to say, but a lot of women stay in relationship because they have no other way out. They're not working, so they're not able to financially maintain themselves. I said, would you want me to be with you just because I need you, or would you want it to be a choice that I want to be with you? Right? And it's just that mentality, that manliness, that ego that I have to be in charge. But like you mentioned, being in charge looks so much different now. Being in charge in the past meant that I financially provided for the home. That is what leadership meant there. Now you alone cannot financially maintain the home, so we both must maintain the home.
And
so we both have that.
Presents new challenges because now you have to be, I guess, emotional support because you have your challenges you're coming home with from work, And if you can't solve them, or if those things linger on your mind when you're at home, then that causes issues in the home. And so your partner must be able to navigate those so that you guys can find a way out together.
Very good. Because I don't need your financial support now.
Yeah.
And it's just like what we mentioned with the conversation. When we're no longer talking, when we're no longer in a loud environment, we just rely on our conversation. But now we have no conversation. Now you want me to make you feel like the man in this relationship. But I provide the same thing you provide, finance. What else? We keep on saying to a female, apart from intimacy, what do you bring to the table? Now I'm saying from the independent woman perspective, apart from the money, what else do you bring to the table? And I think that is what it all boils down to. What both of you bring to the table. Because if both of us are bringing the finances, then what do we need next? Do you provide emotional support for me? And then if you want to lead, then you need to find a way to lead. Because if you leave me to be independent, if you leave me to do everything, then what do I need you for? Right? So you need to show what you can bring in the relationship. For me personally, show me that I don't have to do it by myself. Faith shared a beautiful story with me earlier and said, she knew of this couple that whenever the female was going through her emotional problem, she dealt with it on her own. But her spouse, little by little, I don't know if you want to share the story, Faith.
So the story goes, the young lady always just wanted to be alone and fix her problems all by herself. And so she would get angry or whatever, and then go into a corner and, calm down, figure out the situation, understand it, and then come back. But her partner wanted to help her do that figuring out of the problem, wanted to help her find that peace in the situation, wanted to help her calm down. And the way they did it was they both shared that with each other. He shared that, I want to help you, so let me help you. And she was like, I need space. And they eventually came to a place where she was able to go to her space for a little while to just calm down. And then he would come and talk to her, and help her, guide her through that situation. And it's just because he understood that she needed that alone time, and she understood that he needed to help her. So it's that balance. You have to find that balance for it in the relationship. You want to lead, and you have to be understanding of who you're leading. And so he found that understanding there, and they fostered that growth and that connection, and they're working through. So now he's able to lead how he would want, and she allows them to lead and then accepts that leading as well.
And I believe it's because she realized that she doesn't have to do it by herself anymore. Yeah. And that's the issue with us having independent women. We leave them to do everything. You don't provide anything. I don't feel that you can help me. So why must I give you the opportunity and then you don't help me, and then the world, for me, then the world is going to crumble around me, and I don't like feeling that I'm not in control of my surroundings. I don't like that I'm not in control. So if I know that I can let go some of this control, because see, they take it from an arrogance that I'm independent, I can do it all on my own, I don't need you for anything. But it's a security mechanism that I have to make sure everything is okay. And I must say, it is very, it is burdensome because in my family, something happens to my sister, she'll turn to me. Something happened to the kids, they'll turn to me. Something happened to my mom, she'll turn to me. I've had incidents where my mom will not even go to the hospital unless I take her personally. It is very heavy. I would love to unload it, but it is a very big responsibility that I cannot trust anyone with my load. So we say to the men, you know,
Show that you can be trusted.
show that you can handle some of my load. Show me that it's not that I don't want you to lead, or you're willing to help me with my load. Then I can give you some. I can let go of that big independent woman stereotype, right? It doesn't come from a place that I want to do everything. It's that I feel that I have to do everything, right? Fair? So we know there's a lot more in modern day dating and a lot more issue. If you have anything else to add, like why aren't the relationships working now? What are some challenges you're finding? And for me, yes, you have any question, please comment. And now for me personally, now during my single journey, I won't say I found God because I was raised in a Christian home. So I always knew about God, but I'm in a space where I want God more in my life. Now this is the problem because it's so funny because I don't know if you have seen the show Find Love or Pop the Balloon.
Oh, I've seen something.
So there's a show called Find Love or Pop the Balloon. So if you're not compatible with the person, you would pop your balloon, or the person would pop your balloon if they don't feel like they're compatible with you. Thanks. But I have found that, well, not in the Caribbean one, the original show, that both male and female that come on the show, one of their deal breaker is, what is your relationship with God? They want someone that has a relationship with God. And it has been I found it shocking because, you know, a lot of them are going to say that some of the deal breaker, you can't be living with your mom. That's like the common one. Or you can't party too much. Though, like, coming from a male perspective, but one of the most common one that I would find on the show is that, do you have a relationship with God? What's your relationship like with God? But for me, it's a funny thing because the Bible teaches us that before intimacy, we must be married, right? And now how do I go about that? Because many relationships now require that intimacy before marriage. But I am trying to walk with God, so because I know better, I want to do better. So I know Faith is, she has been growing up and up to this point, not like me, I left and came back. But what's your dating pool in the church?
To be honest,
there's no one?
My church, at least, no. And that's the thing. When you go, like, if I'm approached on the street or something like that, one thing I do, I always ask that first. That's one of my first questions. What's your relationship with God? Because that's important to me. And then, you know, a lot of times when you're interacting with people like that, they're like, well, I
believe in a God.
I believe in a God.
But they don't walk with God.
And they don't do nothing else related to Jesus at all. And that's not enough. And a lot of times in society that people think that's enough because a lot of people
believe.
Yeah, a lot of people grow up, you know, going to a church school, a school that's connected to a church, or in a home that their parents send them to church. But a lot of them have never fostered that relationship with God and never actually found it important. So me asking that sounds crazy to a lot of people. And for me personally, that's deal breaker, and that's my first question I ask. So it doesn't always get far with that because people don't find that valuable. So when I ask that, that's already a turn off for them as well. And they don't even want to try to talk to me anymore because of that. Because I find it so important. And the dating pool is quite crazy when it comes to that. In all honesty.
And we look at Faith, she's much younger than I am.
Yeah.
The church that I attend, there's no single men in the church that I attend within my age range, right? And a lot of most of the men in church, they are already married. They came together as a couple. They want to walk with God, not just say that I'm a Christian. So they go to church together. There's no men in there that they are just there because they want to have that walk with God. So what do I do then? Do I go and try to convert somebody?
That's what they told me. I was told, well, then you'll find a husband and you'll bring out a church. And I said, excuse me. I think if I bring somebody to church, I would not ever foster a relationship in that way, because in that relationship, I must lead you to Christ, and I don't want to be a leader in a marriage.
And brings us back to we doing everything. I have to make him from scratch.
Exactly. And so that's my issue with that. I want someone that has found faith and has developed their relationship with Christ, simply because I want them to be able to lead me in that relationship with Christ. When I'm looking for a partner in marriage, that's what I expect. All the rest of things can be negotiated, but I want a spiritual leader.
That's your deal breaker.
Yep. So,
and your deal breaker is a big deal breaker.
Exactly. That's why I've become an expert at singleness. And I found peace with knowing that if this is not something I can find in my society, that's fine. And it's not completely necessary for me to be in a relationship, because I value my relationship with God more than a partner.
Relationship with man.
Exactly. So I value that connection to God more. And so if I can't find someone to be a spiritual leader, then I just will use my pastor, and that's fine.
Well, for me, it's been very challenging, but this, I would say, the sad part, because Faith is young and we depend on the younger generation to reproduce, and that's not me. I've done my one for society. Go for it and multiply. Unfortunately, I multiplied by one, and that's quite fine by me. But you know, when we look at it, so society has put this pressure on being a relationship, and unfortunately, because I believe that I have found peace being single, and I say it's a dangerous thing, because now I don't have the need for a relationship, because I found peace by being by myself. Yeah. And now I add to that peace, I'm on a spiritual journey, and I'm walking, and it's mostly females on this walkway. You don't have a lot of men out there that are on a spiritual journey like myself, and I can't want to be part of the church but be in the world looking for a partner as well. It doesn't align with my faith, and it's not saying that I'm not part of the world, that I don't socialize and I don't have friends out there. But if I am going to hold a relationship with a person, because I can go out there and have a good time with my friends, but that is have a good time and I come home. But if I decide I'm going to take this long journey with somebody, we have to be on the same spiritual path, because then it won't align. You are going to pressure me for intimacy when I am not saying that I'm perfect and I've done everything perfect, but I'm trying to do it right now. Yeah. So it has nothing with what I have done in my past. It's the road that I am on now. So now it put that pressure on me, because if I go out in the world, he's not on the journey, and you tell me, bring him to the church, and this is not something he doesn't want, then it doesn't work out. Then I go and find another one, and then it doesn't work out. Then I go find another one. Then it doesn't align with the life I want to live.
Yeah.
So it's very challenging. In other words, men, we need to find some men in the church. There's some good wives in the church.
Yeah.
Right? And but
find Jesus before you find we.
yes, and Faith said it right. Find Jesus before you find me, and the journey is going to be. We'll still have difficulties because relationships are hard because you're basically trying to align with a whole different human being.
Yeah, but that common goal of being closer to God helps so much in that relationship because you try differently when that's the main goal. If you want to be like Christ, then Christ had to deal with some very strange things while he was on earth, and he navigated through those situations while still being holy and acceptable. And so if both of us have that same goal to be Christ-like, then we'll overcome our challenges in a Christ-like way and still be found holy and acceptable, and that means that our relationship won't be damaged in that way.
You said two things interesting because, we have the part of the Bible that says that, Jesus said that he's going to break down the temple and build it back in 3 days. And we think of the temple as the physical being, like, how could you build back this temple in 3 days? But he was referring to his temple, his body, him dying and coming back in 3 days. And so, like, I sit down and I realized to myself, if I knew that I was going to die, I wouldn't have been calm. Like, I was going to die and I'd be calm. But we look at him navigating, holding his faith. Yeah. Again, that common goal, God, he know God is going to resurrect him in 3 days. He know that his Savior is there for him. So, yes, there'll be hard times, but again, that common goal. I recently attended a wedding. We're going to a lot of weddings. I don't know if God's signaling me, but I'll take the hint. Just kidding, yes. And she mentioned that the most beautiful thing about her relationship, why she believed that this relationship is work, is because when they are having bad times, they say one thing, let's pray. And she said that's the most beautiful thing that has ever happened to her. She's not saying that the guy is perfect, but because the one common goal in that relationship is God, and we are going to physically get down and we are going to pray, she feels that this is the one for me. I don't care if this happened last week, I'll marry him tomorrow, because you found that common goal where you feel that if you're walking with God, I am going to make it work. So, Faith, what does your future look like at this perspective in terms of relationship? Dark?
I'm
definitely not, because you found your first relationship, which is with.
I'm very hopeful.
You're hopeful?
Yeah, because it's not something that burdens me at all if I don't find a relationship to become married, because I found fulfillment in Christ. I found a purpose, I found peace, I found joy, and so I can be perfectly happy all on my own and still navigate life in that way. But it would be nice to have somebody to help, but it's fine.
So it's safe to say that you haven't given up on it, but if it doesn't happen, you're quite fine. Okay. I think we're on the same path then. I'm not sure if we were the good two hosts for this show, because we're basically thinking the same. Like I mentioned earlier, society put too much pressure on being in a relationship, and I believe that may be one of the factors why we end up in relationships that don't work, because we force it, especially with females that are already older. You feel like your clock is ticking, right? And I will say fortunate for me, I have a child. And when you think about it, I think a lot of females feel that need to be a mother. And so because we have that need as well, we end up in relationship because my time is ticking. I can't have a kid at 45. I can't have a kid at 50. I have to have it now, so you end up settling. And then the relationship doesn't work.
Yeah.
And then a kid is in the drama behind it. But I believe God has a purpose, because honestly I didn't even want to have kids, but I found out that it's something that I wanted without knowing that I wanted it. I find so much love in being a mother. I mean, the responsibility is high because it stresses me out, because I want to be great at it, but I want to be great at it because I love my child so much. You know? So we need to let go, because as Faith said, we're going to keep that tagline, reality is not real. So don't let society put that pressure on you. You know, you have to love yourself. And you, by doing that, you have to find purpose in your life. And one of the way I found purpose in my life, apart from my child, is through God, of course. And because I know how I love myself, I know how I want to be loved.
Yeah.
That is very big. But a lot of us, you know, we get in a relationship and he said he loves me. But because I don't know how to properly love myself, I take anything for love.
Yeah.
Right?
Difficult. I have a joke. Anyways, so I don't have a desire to be a mom, but I've always wanted to be a grandmother. Grandmother at the park with my grandkids, giving them cookies out of my purse. I've always wanted that. But I guess being a mom is a step to that. But honestly, it's still fulfilling to be, you know, an aunt, because a lot of times kids aren't always comfortable with their mom for everything. And so I'm that aunt that they can go to and, you know, have those conversations. And I like that, because it's still kind of parenting, and they're cute, and then I can give them back.
But I think you find I have a special love for my nieces and my nephew. I don't know if we produce a lot of females in this family, but before becoming a mom, and probably my sister is watching my nieces, the little girls with the M, Monica, Malaika, all the M's, they will come to me and complain about my sister, and I listen up to them. But I still try to do that. I don't mind it. They're terrible, because I was an aunt at a very young age, and they would meet me on the street, and they know I don't like them calling me Auntie Dina, and they would yell so loud on Albert Street in their little Auntie Dina. And now I'm young, and you're calling me an aunt. I feel old. Terrible little girls, but you know, I have a special love for them.
And so you can be fulfilled. Even in your singleness, and you shouldn't need that relationship with a partner to find that fulfillment.
Yep.
Your fulfillment must come from Christ, or else your fulfillment will always be, you know, wavering. You'll be confused and feel kind of lost if you're looking for people to fill that. You know, that's why you have addiction, because they keep craving something to feel fulfilled, and you can't find fulfillment in, you know, whatever you're addicted to. It can't,
because it's not
take the place.
It's filling,
of God.
but it's not filling. Like you have a cup and you want to fill it, but you're not filling it with the correct substance. So you keep pouring, but the cup will never be filled, because you're not pouring the correct substance into that cup. And that is why I feel that I'm at a space that if relationship is not for me, then I'll be fine. Like, I found loving my nieces to the point that if I feel like they're in danger, or I cannot help them, or they have need of something, like I feel that instinct to want to help them and protect them. I've found love with my child. Fortunately, I was able to have a child, but even without the child, I had my niece with me from birth. She's been around me. I found that love in taking care of her as well. So I found love with myself, and most importantly, I find a never-ending love with God. And because I have that great feeling, unfortunately, again for me, my father loved me. And my sister thinks I was the favorite. I think so too, but my dad would have never confirmed that. But I found love in other places that if I don't find it in a relationship, I'll be fine. I'm not saying I've closed that chapter, but if that's God's will, then
it will happen.
It will happen. If not, fortunately, I've found it other places, right?
Yeah. So I think something important we're talking about is fulfillment. Because a lot of times people go to relationships for that feeling. And I was on the internet and I saw this video about this. And this guy he had a colander, and he went to the sink and tried to fill the colander there with water, and it couldn't be filled. And he went to another sink and tried to fill that colander with water, and it could not be filled. Started pouring cups and cups in that colander and couldn't be filled. And then he put the colander inside a bucket full of water, and the colander floated on top of that bucket, and it became full. And so you just have to be filled in the right way in order for you to actually notice that fulfillment. You might be looking all over the place and looking for the wrong things, but if you go to the right place, you will be filled, and it'll be overflowing.
Very good. And that takes us to we kind of been just moving along in our segments and not saying we're moving in the segment. But now we are talking about, filling with the correct. We're filling the correct. How do we call it? Filling correctly, filling properly. Right? But how do you know when it's wrong? How do I know I'm pouring the wrong thing in? So we look at green flags and red flags in a relationship. And there's a word that has been very, very popular now, and I don't think if I've completely grasped the definition of it. But have you ever heard about men having narcissistic tendency in a relationship, Faith?
I think so.
Well, I've been hearing the word a lot. And another word that I've been hearing is gaslighting. Have you heard that one, Faith?
Yeah.
And I don't know if the information comes from TikTok. How accurate is it? Don't bet on it. But what is your definition of gaslight?
Well, when people are gaslighting you, it may seem like they're trying to manipulate you into believing that their lie is the truth. So they're trying to convince you that you're wrong, because they already know that whatever they're saying is a lie. So although you know the truth, they're trying to convince you that your truth is wrong. So if I told you this cup, this cup is blue, but I'm trying to tell you, no, the cup's yellow. What do you mean? How can't you see that this cup is yellow? It's like you need to go check your eyes or something like that. So
well, I heard the history that the terminology was coined from a relationship. This wife kept on saying that she smells gas in the house. But every time that she was not looking, he would go and turn on the stove. And so the gas of smell would keep coming in the house, and she would keep saying that she's smelling gas. And he would turn it off, and then she'll go and check, and no gas is on. And he made her feel like she's going crazy.
Yeah.
And because she felt so helpless that I keep on smelling, how is it that I'm the only one smelling gas in the house? And that is where the term gaslight comes from, because you, as the man, kept manipulating the situation. He was wrong because he was the one turning on that gas. And she kept, she know that she's right because she was smelling the gas because he was turning it on. And he made her feel like she was wrong. So that's where the terminology gaslighting comes from. If you're in a relationship and you know that something is wrong, but this person keeps on convincing you that is that, for me, that is one of the biggest red flags that we must look for in a relationship.
Yeah.
This person keeps on telling you that no, you're wrong, and you know you're right. And then you feel like you're getting crazy, and then you depend on this person for what is right, and now that person is able to manipulate everything in the relationship, because now you hinge on the belief that I'm right and you're wrong.
Yeah.
So now everything I think you're right. And which brings me back to the narcissistic person in a relationship. The person that funny, because I always say I'm always right. I don't argue if I'm not right. I'm just kidding. But it's that kind of tendency in a relationship, the need that your spouse always feel like you're wrong. Everything that goes bad in the relationship, they blame you for it. They don't take any accountability for anything in the relationship. So those are red flags for me, because it has to be a partnership. And it's so funny because people say I don't listen, and I tend to always say that I'm always right, but I do listen. I just don't admit it. Kind of like, if I admit I listen, I have to admit I'm wrong. But one of the things in a relationship is that both partners have to be able to be accountable for your wrongdoing in the relationship. Bear in mind, and I wouldn't even call it wrongdoing, you're growing together. So at some point in time, we will have differences because we're two completely different human beings. Listen, you can grow up in a home with the same parents, being raised the same way, and your siblings are completely different from you. Therefore, you have a whole human being that wasn't raised the way you were raised. And so there will be times that you'll have differences. So I won't say that it's you're right or you're wrong, but we are at a space where we have to figure out, this is who you are, this is who I am, and how do we get past this together? I keep on saying, one of the best things you can tell me in a relationship is we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
We will figure it out. And 50-50 in a relationship. If a man comes to you, Faith, and say 50-50 in a relationship, green flag or red flag?
I know. And I had mentioned this earlier. It's not the first time they asked me, but I don't think it's always 50-50 in anything. If it's
chores,
finances and chores, in emotional support, I don't think it's ever 50-50. I think it's situation based, and so if whoever one of us makes more and you can take on more, then you should take on more. Well, if I am so stressed and so drained and I can't lift a finger, I just really need that time to rest. Then the other person needs to give 100. It's never. I don't think it's ever 50-50 in a relationship. It's situation based. If I can give more and you can't at this moment, then I will try to give more. So whoever can give, whatever you can give, that's what you're supposed to give.
So we're going to say that 50-50 is red, 100% is green flag. Because
If you're willing. Yeah.
when I say 100%, I don't mean 100% from one person. I mean together your goal is 100%. So as Faith Beauty said, some days she will give 10, which means that the partner has to give 90. Some days she'll be able to give 75 and her partner can only give 25. So for me, you come in a relationship and you're stringent on the 50-50, meaning I have to wash up 3 days, then you wash up the next 3 days, whether you're sick, tired, or frustrated. 50-50 does not work. For me, I believe a partnership should aim for 100%. Some days financially you might be able to give 0 and I have to take care of the bills 100%. The point is we'll always be filled at 100%. So when someone comes to me and say 50-50 in a relationship, for me that's a red flag because it's not realistic. I can't always give 50-50 because as Faith says, I come home and probably I said I was going to make tea, but I had a very long work. You know, I had obstacles that I don't normally face. I can't get up and make that tea, so then where I can't you pick up? Some days financially, you may not be able to pay the bill, so I'll pick up where I can. So for me, 50-50 is a red flag because you're being too exact for me.
Yeah.
But if we're aiming and you come to me, I don't say when you meet me on the street, tell me this now. But if you come to me and say 100, we will do hundreds together. We'll all, our couple always be filled at 100 together. Then that's green flag.
Yeah, I saw this video on the internet once where this one is explaining that in their relationship, when they come home, they tell each other how much they can give because they have kids, you know, so things need to get done. If the kids need to be fed, they need to get ready for bed on time, whatever it is, they need to, the house still needs to operate. But, you know, what you think, always not come home from the same situation every day.
Yeah.
Some days you're faced with
Every day aren't
strange
the same.
challenges. And so they come home and they tell each other how much they can give. And then the other person fills that gap for that 100. And so I think checking in with your partner regularly is a green flag in a relationship simply because of that. You need to know where they are, where they stand, how you can help, you know, whatever it is. You need that. Check-ins are important.
Very good. So again for me, the next thing I mentioned earlier that we all were raised differently, right? Even with friendship, certain things that I deem as disrespectful, others don't deem it as disrespectful, right? But there may be instances in your relationship that you may feel disrespected. And I don't think that's cause for the end of a relationship. And now listen to me out, because maybe from the other end, the spouse intention was not to disrespect you, right? But as Faith said, it's a communication thing, because I know some spouses rather their partner doesn't have any friend of the opposite sex, right?
Yeah.
So we were talking about, we all know the story of the physical cheating, but we were now discussing emotional cheating.
Yeah.
And so my question was, you know, what do you consider being emotional cheating? Because they said this has nothing to do with anything physical. So you want to share your view on emotional cheating? Because for me, I think for everybody, cheating is red flag, right? The physical cheating, right? So we get that part. Now let's look at the emotional cheating phase.
So what we were we're saying is that emotional cheating is that emotional dependence on someone of the opposite sex that's not your partner. And so if you're faced with important challenges and instead of going to your partner, you go to them. And you go to them and you share and you're so open and you're expressive. And then you go to your partner and you don't express any of this at all. And all that partner sees is probably the after effects or the before effects of your frustration or whatever it is. And then you go to this person and you talk and you
didn't turn to your partner.
Didn't turn to your partner that was right
so
there.
That's your red flag.
And you go on to this other person and you're just so open and you're so willing to share
and you come back healed.
And you come back healed. Like, you're like, oh wow, what did you do? But you had that opportunity to go to your partner and you chose not to. And you go to someone else and leave your partner in the dark.
So question, if I do this with somebody from the same sex, it's fine?
I think
so as a female, instead of going to your spouse, say you went to your sister, is it fine then?
Sister is different to me personally, because that's like you grew up with them, so you expect them to understand. Like maybe it's like understanding, a beforehand understanding of how you interact with this kind of situation based on how you grew up, that maybe you go to them with. But the thing is, if you go to your sister, you should still tell your partner what happened.
So I can go to my friend of the opposite sex and still tell my partner after?
I think if you do that and you still lean on them, yes. If it becomes a problem where you only go to that person of the opposite sex for
everything,
constant emotional support, then it's problematic. If it's just one time or a couple times, or maybe you already had plans with your friend and you
just so happened to be there and it happening at the time.
That's very different than you going to that person for that constant emotional support instead of your partner. So that's emotional cheating.
For me, I think I am with people when people say when it comes to relationship problem, the solution is at home. I understand that there's time you want to vent, and I believe a friend in that situation should have an open ear and a closed mouth. Because sometimes you need to just say it out loud for you to rationalize what's happening in the relationship. So if it's a matter of venting, and I'm a strong believer that when people come to me with any issue, I listen. That's always me. I try my best not to give my opinion unless I feel that you're putting yourself in a dangerous position, and that is the only way I'll have an input in your situation. If in terms of relationship, I think people just need to vent. But I think when it comes to any issues in a relationship, it should be solved solely with your partner. Because I can give you my perspective, and I'm a bit weird. I don't think like how most people think. So I may not be in the best position, because I will not feel the same way your spouse feel about a particular situation, because again, we were all raised differently. We had different we are influenced by different environments, right? So I may not feel how they feel. I will give you my feeling, which is irrelevant in this situation. So I believe whether it's the same sex or opposite sex and the person just wants to vent, but healing with another person, that's different, you know? Another person being your peace, being your comfort, being your healer, that's a whole other relationship basically.
Exactly.
Right? And I was in a situation that I was basically doing, being that person for the person, and I wasn't even in a relationship with the person, so I completely cut ties because we were both single, and I don't, a lot of time we do relationship things and we're not even in relationships.
Yeah, that's also one.
You know, you're not even, there's no, you realize there's no discussion for it. It's just that one day we decide, I don't know, how do you decide you're dating? How do you decide that, oh, that's, how do I decide that's my boyfriend in modern society?
Okay. With Ice, I've seen it played out. Like how my sister got her husband, they had a few interactions beforehand, and they found interest. Well, he found interest, and he just asked. He made it clear. He's like,
He
will
asked.
you be my girlfriend?
Okay.
Made it very clear.
He asked, and then couple years later, then they got
married.
right. But there's many relationships that we don't ask. We just assume that we're in a relationship, and many times it's only one of you in that relationship.
Yeah, on researching for this, I came across this thing where you're in a friendationship. Friendationship. And I said,
or the situationship.
Yeah. And it's because you're friends with a person of opposite gender, and you start doing like things that seem relationship like going out together, just you and them, just even if it's just to go get food or whatever, something that might be casual and something that you used to do with a group of people, but now it's just you two by yourself. And so now you start developing feelings, but no one defines the relationship. No one makes a conscious choice of saying, oh, are we in a relationship, or is what's happening here? And I think that that's something important that we need to really decide on, because a lot of times people get into relationships just by accident. But I think a relationship is supposed to be purposeful, and both people need to be aware of what they're doing. Because if it were me and we're going somewhere and I'm going out with you sometimes casually, at this point, I could think nothing would happen.
While the other one is planning the wedding in their head.
Exactly. And so you need to have that clear communication that, okay, so are you interested in
what
me?
What old people are going to say, and then you give so much in a relationship and it's not a relationship, and then the other person thinks, why buy the cow when I get the milk for free?
Yes.
So we end up in that situationship or friendationship, because we have no clear communication, and we have to stop both sides, male and female, giving into these situations, and there's no clear definition of what it is. I think some of us need to go and look up the definition of the word relationship. The origin of the word relationship, I think it means carry again, It's not something easy, not something taken lightly. It's both of you together carrying something, and we really have to define what is my purpose again, because I'm with you and I'm spending so much time with you. What are your intentions with me? I keep on telling male, I say one of the problems you have, and then you wonder why female crazy and she just jealous and it's because you come in, you do relationship things, and then you don't want a relationship with the person. You've already built hope and expectation in this whole human being, and then you expect me to be sane about it, and you're playing with my feelings and my future. That's what I'm seeing. You could have came to the get-go and say, I don't want anything serious, and if that person then chooses to still stick around and still be emotionally attached to you, then that's on them. But come to me clearly, come to me and say, you know what? I'm just bored. I just want somebody to hang out with for a couple months. I don't want anything serious. If I choose to do that, then that's on me.
Yeah.
You understand? But come with clear intention that when I come with my cup, I know that you're pouring what I want. You know? And we must have purpose together. And so for me, in terms of relationship and navigating relationship as a Christian as well, or just someone that is having a different walk, my thing is clear communication. Please come into whatever situation with your purpose and let that person decide if that is for them or that's not for them. We need to stop walking around and wasting people's time. And you'd be surprised because a lot of females are out there not wanting a relationship or not wanting to get married. Go and find who fills you. Maybe then because you both have the same purpose, it may lead to something bigger at the end. But for me, clear communication is everything. I have my walk that I'm walking, and I need both of us to be on the same road. So, Faith, for you, what would you be your final diagnosis about relationship, navigating relationship?
I think something that's important that we should look for is if you're in a relationship, and it's a Christian relationship, you guys should be fostering each other's spiritual growth. So something other than just talking and having fun together is having a space for you guys to help each other grow. I know that my sister and her husband have time for them to do devotion together. They always pray with each other before any one of them leaves the house. And those are things that you need to foster in a relationship. And if you bring that up when you're starting to date or talk to someone and they reject that constantly, that's a red flag. And you need to notice it, because then if they don't find value in that spending time with God, how much will they value this relationship and your relationship with God? Because if you desire to do those things and to have that time with God, then if it clashes with something they want to go out and do or something like that, and they're like, well, you can miss church today and let's go this way, and it's not that you can't maybe miss church on your anniversary or something and go on a trip, but it's missing your spiritual fulfillment. Are they giving that time? Are they giving you enough time to find your spiritual fulfillment? Are you guys finding spiritual fulfillment together? Because remember, this relationship is you're looking at God together. So if you guys don't foster that relationship with God together, how well will you do in the other areas? Because I said, as long as it's earlier that it's you both against the problem, it's not just you both. When you get married, at least, it's you and God, because you invited God now into this relationship, against the problem. And if you're not in a space where you can pray together and do devotions together, Bible study together, then you can't face that problem together with God if there's no kind of fostering of that connection. So you need to be able to have those times with your partner, whatever it is, Bible study, once a week prayer together, going to church together, anything like that, to foster that spiritual relationship while fostering your relationship as well.
And like Reverend Lelivier just shared with me, God is the great mathematician. He solves all problems. So you put God in your relationship, whatever problem come as a relationship, because you have God at the middle of your relationship, He is our great mathematician. He'll solve all our problems. And one of the things, Faith, I believe a lot of us don't see that great value in God. And what Faith, as the director of Youth for Christ Ministry, we are trying to teach youth to live with God. And so we both are part of the Youth for Christ Ministry. I don't know if you want to share with our audience what's our purpose at Youth for Christ Ministry.
Well, it's to create an environment where we foster spiritual growth and to encourage our young people to develop Christ-like attitudes, behaviors, and further than in this space that we create for them. So we want them to be able to carry this Christ-like behavior into their communities, into their environments, into their schools, and be the difference. It's more than just coming and having fun with like-minded people. It's instilling these Christian values in them as well.
And one of the things that we look at, we want them to have that foundation with God. We want that when they're faced with challenges, they don't turn to their friends, they don't turn to alcohol, they don't turn to drugs. We want them to turn to God. And in instilling Christ-like values in them, we give them a different way out of their problem. We give them a different way to live life. We try to let them see that life is more than what society and the social media portrays it to be. And truth be told, looking at myself, if I did not have that Christ-like foundation from a child, when I became older and was faced with extreme challenges, where would I have turned to? Yeah. And my only option was God. So we want to instill that. We meet once a month, and we try to have a lot of interactive games with the youth. And you can reach us out. You can reach to Faith. I don't know if you want to share a contact number, but it's for youth between the ages of
12 to 17.
12 to 17. And we give them little treats, we have games, we have fun, and we do it all with the purpose of teaching them to have a relationship with God. Right? So Youth for Christ Ministry.
Yeah.
Any information, you guys can meet us at Ebenezer Church on Sunday, or reach out to us on Harmony Media page. And if you want your child to be enrolled in the program, again, it's once a month. It's always on a Saturday between the hours of 3 and 5.
Yeah. And
we do provide transportation as well. It's a great initiative. We have a lot of leaders. Some days we feel like more leaders. But we have people that are literally volunteering their time to just help your child, have fun, and love God at the same time.
Yeah.
So that's all we have for now. Look out for us. I believe it's the 19th of October. We have another Bible Trivia Hour. And please be a contestant. We're looking for contestants. And we hope you enjoy the wonderful time. Please know that, yes, we meet once a month here at Harmony Media. But we do have Harmony Media Television. We have where you see Christian movie all hours, all day, all night. We have Harmony Media Radio, where you're able to listen to Christian music all day, all night. And of course, you join us live here at Harmony Media Facebook, Harmony Media YouTube, and Harmony Media Network.
Harmony Media Instagram as well.
Instagram, yes.
On our Facebook and Instagram pages, we share devotions, we share Bible verses every day. So if you guys are interested and looking for a way to constantly connect to Christ, those are also options available for you if you would like to. So we got music done,
television,
entertainment,
shows,
social media.
yes, we are covering
ways
the
to
platform.
interact.
We are taking the social media as this generation is, but we are trying to reach you guys in a positive way. So thanks for joining us. I know we had an entertaining conversation up here. We hope you guys at home are finding it entertaining as well. And thanks for always tuning and choosing Harmony Media. Bye.
Bye.